Welcome to my game. The rules of this game are simple. There is no right or wrong, only consequences.
Okay, only consequences.
When you beat the game, the prize of eternal happiness is yours.
I'm ready.
So not too long ago, we finished playing Little Misfortune on the channel, a game set in the same world as Fran Bow by creators Kill Monday Games. And Little Misfortune, for those of you that don't know, is the story of a young unlucky girl named Misfortune who goes on an adventure to find the eternal happiness for her mother, with the help of the narrator of the game, Mr. Voice. Now, with a number of confusing themes, fourth wall breaking dialogue and a very handsome fox, the game may have been confusing to a lot of us, certainly me when I played it through and got both endings. So today I just want to clear up in general what happened in Little Misfortune and how it briefly ties in to Fran Bow, as I may do a subsequent video on the connections of the two games, as I'm currently still playing through Fran Bow at present. Link in the description. So today let's take a look at Little Misfortune Explained. Obvious spoilers ahead. The game begins with the narrator telling us to play his game. He is also overheard by Little Misfortune, which takes him by surprise. However, she believes he is just a voice in her head. However, as we know if we have watched it, this is in fact incorrect, which I will come back to later in the video. She decides to play his game and follow what he says in exchange for her mother's eternal happiness. However, we are also told that Little Misfortune will die today. And that is exactly what happens. Or is it? Right off the bat, I believe that prior to us meeting Misfortune at the very start of the game, she is in fact already dead. Or she died that very morning, or just prior to us seeing her. As we find out at the end of the game, when we actually return home, we see our own body, we see Misfortune's dead body in the middle of the road. That same road that we crossed at the beginning of the game. I think it's implied that her father, who, if we used the metaphors and information that Misfortune provided to us, her father was a drug dealer and not a very nice man. He was driving, potentially under some kind of influence, and he was the one that ran over Misfortune. This is evidenced by the tyre marks skidding off the road, with Misfortune briefly talking about the car and her father earlier in the game. The only question that this throws up is because the tyre tracks were on the road before we met Misfortune, this potentially implies that from when we meet her she is in fact already dead like I thought. Not when she crosses the road in the game. This could be backed up by the real reason that Mr. Voice has even appeared for Misfortune in the first place, but I'll get into that later as well. Touching briefly on the world in which we play, it is clear that upon death, Misfortune, at least to her, creates a world that she desires to see and be a part of. You know, going around Phantasmagoria and some of these other places, it's not, I guess, what you consider a normal world. I say this because it's mainly supported by what the fifth doll that we collect in Phantasmagoria tells us.
Reality will transform into what the child desires the most. Really?
And that's what's happening in this game. So if it was another child, for example, it would not necessarily be the same things we were seeing with Little Misfortune. We would potentially be seeing something else. But there were in fact two other characters that we met prior to Misfortune in the game, and that is the cloaked form of what appears to be Death, and then the fox known as Benjamin. Let's look at Death first, as this touches on the realities that link to Fran Bow and also to Benjamin the Fox. At the end of Little Misfortune, in both of the endings, the cloaked figure, let's call her Death for now, appears in front of Misfortune atop a mountain cave, who has her speak her name and states that
We were expecting you.
ugh, which suggests and confirms a couple of things. Number one, that this is death and this is the place the dead should go in the afterlife. And two, that she is the protector of the ones who pass through and help give them safe passage to this new reality. The reality I'm speaking of is Cernezedy, if I'm saying that right, which resides in the third and fourth reality according to the diary that you get in Fran Bow in his Thirster. Pandora, creation of the 5 realms of essential existence. Oh yeah, this is it, this free thing. The 5 realms of essential existence. Right, the FRE resides in the human world, the third reality, Earth, Mars and Jupiter, consciousness, practice of will. That's my planet, that's right. So yeah, Earth, so the third reality, the human world, the third reality. Ah, Cernezedy! Here we go. The end of vibration, when both ends of opposites are the same degree, resides in the third and fourth reality, death. This can be proven in a number of ways. Firstly, Itward, who we have yet to formally meet in my Let's Play of Fran Bow, was actually born in Cernezedy. And who do we see in one of the many Fran Bow references at the end of the game as we enter that reality? Itward. We see Itward.
What's up?
Secondly, in Benjamin's diary, he specifically quotes that reality by saying, I has study and bigger confidence. I travel from Cernezedy to Pandora when fog appears. Many victims gone missing in Parasite game. So the Parasite he's referring to is Mr. Voice. I can't help. Feel sad. I send message to boss. Some victims not coming to Cernezedy. The diary also highlights Benjamin's role as a protector for making sure children, specifically children, pass on to Cernezedy after they die, and Little Misfortune clearly is one of them. So the clip at the start of the game now makes more sense, as Death is telling Benjamin where he needs to go and who he needs to pass on to Cernezedy. So why does he need to protect Misfortune? Well, Morgo, of course. This entire game, I believe, is a power struggle between the narrator, Mr. Voice, Morgo, whatever you want to call him, and Death. Where Death and Benjamin want to bring Misfortune to where she seemingly should go, Cernezedy, Morgo, who is a parasite from the beyond, wants to take her back there, as to quote him at the end of the game,
Whoa, child. Another toy for my collection.
It was seen throughout Little Misfortune that other kids of similar age had gone missing. This was likely due to Morgo already reaching them before Benjamin did, and he took them to the beyond. However, he didn't count on Misfortune being able to hear him. This tells us that there was something very special about Misfortune Ramirez Hernandez in her own right. Perhaps it was her ability to see the good in everything, or her inability to be manipulated as much as the other kids. In any case, the whole premise of the game was set out at the beginning, with Morgo telling us, welcome to my game. For him it was a game to get Misfortune away from Benjamin and into a position where she would go with him to the beyond. My current understanding of the beyond as a reality is that it does not reside in the FREE, the 5 realms of essential existence seen in the diary in his Thirster from Fran Bow. The beyond resides outside of this, so outside of time, and it is where these parasites, as Benjamin calls them, comes from. It may also be the sad world that I noticed. It was noted in the Little Misfortune wiki, but I'm not sure about that. So you see when those flashes appear and Misfortune sees that horrible world, that may be the beyond, but I'm not entirely sure on that front. What is confirmed, however, is that we essentially played through the game of a girl who is trying to pass over into the afterlife, or into another reality of existence after death in the third reality, her reality, with Benjamin and Death succeeding in granting her safe passage to Cernezedy as she begins her next life. And if you sparkled everything, making everything happy and colourful and wonderful with the glitter that you pick up at the start of the game, then Misfortune's mother will receive her eternal happiness. Thanks for watching.